Hello everyone, and welcome to today's discussion on rest and reflection. My name is Daniel Edmond. I'm the co-founder of a company called Milk for Tea. We exist to help better and progress the cultures that we work and live in. So we work with companies, educational institutions, and other organizations to work to better the experiences for everyone existing within those spaces. Because of how society is set up, men still carry the majority of the power in almost every industry and culture in the world. Because of this, we do have certain programs that are tailored specifically for men, but we do work with all self-identifying genders. Love the work that I do. I have a great team over at Milk for Tea. My co-founder, Jack Norman, and the rest of the team that we have over there. We're really excited for this very different and precarious time that we're all in, but excited nonetheless for the opportunities for the future. If you would like to find out more information about us, you can find us at Milk4Tea, so that's MILFORTEA.com. Now before I get started, I want to say a special thank you to all the NHS key workers and carers and everyone out there on the front line who is working very diligently and hard to keep us protected during this COVID-19 pandemic. And all of you out there who are staying at home and following the government regulations and only leaving the house when necessary. I thank you all for the contributions and work that you're doing to help keep all of us safe. I know many of us have lost loved ones, my family included. We've lost loved ones and people we know due to this virus. And so my heart goes out to everyone who has lost during this time. And together I do believe that we can help change the situation we're in and come out the other end with a lot more perspective, but also a lot better for it, despite the tragedies that are taking place right now. So, without further ado, we're going to get into today's conversation. Like I said, I'll be speaking on rest and reflection. It is an interactive workshop, per se, discussion. I'd say it's probably more of a discussion with a few exercises, rather. It is interactive. One of the benefits of doing an online or web kind of discussion like this is that you can go completely at your own pace. You can pause the video, take some time to reflect and think on what I'm saying. And for the exercises as well, I'm going to be asking that you hit the pause button when initiated and just spend some time doing the exercise, and then you can just hit the play button and continue on. And so again, one of the benefits of this situation, again, is that you can do this in your own time and space. And yeah, we can get things going like that. I do have some notes here, so we will be periodically looking down, just some notes and some notions that I'll be looking at to share with you all. Also, before we get started, just want to make sure you have a pen and paper or something to write down. Maybe you're using an iPad or your phone, something where you can just write down your thoughts and do the exercises on. Also, I'm asking as much as possible that you find some time or find some space wherever you are to kind of steal away a little bit and be with yourself. And so I know everyone is in very different circumstances right now. Some of us are living in very packed and crowded situations with the whole family being home, or your whole house and other housemates and whoever you may be staying with at this time. I know there may be a lot of people at the house for you particularly. Some of you may be alone. But I just want to encourage everyone, if you can, and as you can, to just take some time and take some space to really center yourself and kind of be with your thoughts. Be relaxed, as relaxed as you can be during this time, and really just work on being with yourself and thinking of yourself right now. Right now, we're going to be practicing self-care. So as much as you can, like I said, just take some time for yourself for the next few minutes that we're together. So here we are, rest and reflection. Like I said, so today I'm going to be talking about rest and reflection. I'm going to start off speaking about rest. And before we get going, I'm gonna hit you with the first exercise. So take your piece of paper or your iPad or your phone or whatever you're using, and I want you to write down at least one thing that you want more of. It can be more than one, but at least one. One thing you want more of. So it could be more time. It could be more energy. It could be more space to be away from the people I'm staying with, so I can do the things that I want to do. It could be more excitement and adventure, more creativity. It can be anything that you want. It's personal to you. So take some time. You can pause the video right now and take some time. I would say anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes, but again, you can go completely at your own pace. Take as much time as you like. Like I said, pause the video and then just carry on when you're ready. But like I said, one thing, at least one thing, that you want more of. So hit that pause button and then hit play when you're ready. I'm going to carry on with the rest of the workshop and begin the talk on rest. Now more than ever, I think the world is seeing a raised awareness of rest, mostly because we have to. Some of us have no choice but to rest right now. We can't leave our house, or should not leave our houses rather, unless it's for necessities. And so all of us are kind of in this forced space of rest. Now, rest for some people may be something completely different for another person. And so I'm going to be speaking a little bit about rest and just some thoughts I've been meditating on over the past few weeks, and some colleagues I've been speaking to, and some discussions I've been having. But we're going to be talking about rest and what that means for us, especially during this time of this pandemic. Now, like I said, rest means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but more importantly, all of us, we have got to value, honor, and respect rest. It's very countercultural to the hyper-capitalistic society that we all work in and live in. But we must, and I think now we're understanding that more than ever, we must value rest. We must value taking care of ourselves. We must value putting ourselves first so that we can help others better. And so I'm someone who loves being productive. Like I said, I am the co-founder of a company, of a young company, and so there's a lot to do. There's never a shortage of things to do. I love being productive. I love traveling. I love kind of being here, there, and everywhere, working on the company, meeting people, delivering workshops, delivering talks, just speaking with people and just being around people. I think I get it from my father, who's a pastor, and I think from watching him growing up, I think I've just caught that bug. But I love being productive. But I've learned over the years that I must work out of a place of rest. That must be my foundation. That must be my start. Whatever I'm working on for that day, I must operate from a place of rest, a posture of rest. Now, what do I mean by that, a posture of rest? It really is an attitude of rest. That I'm going to center myself. I'm going to put myself first. Before I go about the day's business, before I meet with do anything for my family or anything like that, even if it's just 1 minute, 2 minutes a day, I'm going to actually just center myself and take some time to focus and think about myself and what I need from that day. And like I said, all of us are in different situations. Some of us have kids and partners and other people we're caring for, myself included. And there are a variety of different things right now that may be preventing us from getting the rest that we want and need during this time. But it's really important, like I said, that we honor that rest. And we honor it and we value it and we make time for it. It's also about honoring and respecting it in others. And so it's about when people tell you that they need rest and tell you that they need space, it's really valuing and honoring that, not just for ourselves, but for other people as well. So that's a few of the notions I've kind of just been thinking about with rest. I've been thinking about a lot of different things. We've only got a finite amount of time right now. So for today, those are just a few of the notions that I've kind of been meditating on. Just the honor and value of rest. And for me to operate from a place of rest. To let that, like I said before, let that be really your starting point as you go about this time during the pandemic and beyond. Now I'm going to be speaking a little bit about the different types of rest. I've been speaking with a lot of different colleagues of mine and doing some research as well as kind of thinking and meditating, and found that there are 7 different types of rest. There's physical rest, there is mental rest, there is social rest, there's creative rest, there's emotional rest, there's spiritual rest, and there's sensory rest. And it's really important that we make sure that we're balancing all of these different types of rest out and finding out which areas are we depleted in so that we can restore them. Now, before we get started, I would say that as we look at these different areas of rest, it's really important to kind of check in with ourselves and find out what areas do we have in our lives that we need to kind of restore and replenish. So first off, physical rest. I think that is the easiest thing for a lot of us to recognize. I know we feel when we're tired. We feel when we need sleep. We feel when we've been working out, our muscles may ache. We just may feel a bit heavier. We may have a headache. We may feel sore. We may feel a variety of different things. So physical rest is probably probably the easiest rest to identify, because there is a very tangible feeling that comes with that. And we kind of know, all right, my knee hurts. I know exactly where that is and where it's coming from. It's on my knee because it feels, I feel it there. So it's a much easier, like I said, a much easier thing to identify. But again, we must make sure that we are getting the adequate physical rest. So that one starts off with getting enough sleep, finding a sleeping pattern and time to go to sleep that works for you. That you are not overexerting yourself, especially during this time, during the pandemic, that you're not overexerting yourself. So make sure you're taking time to rest physically and find that rest physically for you. The next is mental rest. And so there are a lot of different things, particularly during this time. I think right now there are a lot of different feelings and emotions that we may have during this time. All of us will be feeling different things. All of us are in kind of different, a lot of us are in different situations. Some of us have lost people, like I mentioned earlier. So all of us will be feeling different things and thinking about different things. And so it's really important that we get that mental rest. And another word for rest is also restoration. And so it's not just about shutting some things off, it's also about opening yourself up to other things. So mentally, if you find yourself overly stimulated mentally in one area, mental rest for you may look like just shutting off and looking at art, and just finding a way to kind of shut off a particular part of your brain and kind of just ease your way into something else. It's just about resting yourself and quieting yourself mentally. Again, a lot of us are working from home, and so again, there may be a lot of cerebral information that we're taking in, and so on a cerebral level, we just may be kind of like inundated and overloaded. And so it's about taking some time to really restore that, to rest and also restore that part of us in a mental capacity. The next is social rest. So it's really interesting now that a lot of us are social isolating or distancing rather during this time. But I've never known a time for there to be as many video calls and video conferences and phone conferences as much as there is now. And so it's really important to note that even during this time, we do need social rest. We do need time to, again, steal away and not engage so much with people or particular types of people. And so again, rest for one person may look like completely shutting off and kind of just being in the room by themselves. And for another person, it may be saying, look, I'm gonna not necessarily speak to these people over here, I'm gonna speak to a different group of people. So there are people who deplete us, and there are people who feed us. And so it's really important to, one, know the difference between the two, and also make sure that as you are around people who may be taking from you, for instance, you may be in a management position, you may be in a position where people rely on you, or you may just have people around you who have different needs. Maybe you're a parent, a carer, etc. There will be different needs that people have. So as you're around people who are depleting, make sure that you're spending time around people who are feeding you. And those two people can be one and the same as well. But recognize when you're feeling depleted in that area of being social, and then find out how you can feed yourself. Get on that phone call with that person where things are just easy and you can unwind and someone's listening to you. You can talk about your day, and those phone calls when you can just kind of put your feet up and you just you're kind of both watching TV and just hanging out in a way that can really feed you and energize you. And I would also say that a way to kind of identify that is take stock and inventory of how you feel after you speak to different people. So after you get off a phone call with someone, check in with yourself quickly. How do I feel right now? Do I feel better or worse from speaking with that person, and why? You don't necessarily have to do that for every time you speak with someone, but again, it will help you to start identifying the people in your life and situations in your life that are depleting you and those who are feeding you. The next area is creative rest, and making sure that we are, again, not just exerting creativity, but that we're also replenishing creativity and inspiration. So it's a beautiful time right now. I think one of the good things that can come out of this time is that we have more time to do the things that we like to do or want to do or said that we always would do if we had more time. So whether it's baking, whether it's cooking, whether it's any type of art or music, whatever it is for you, it's finding that time and that space to replenish that inspiration. Replenish that, and especially in a time when we're exerting more creatively. So for all of my creatives out there, I personally believe that everyone is creative in some way. But for those who are working particularly in the creative industry or with creative jobs, you may be exerting a lot of creative energy in one way, and it's about finding time and space to recharge and regain that inspiration in a different way. So again, maybe you just go out in your back garden and you just sit outside and you watch the sky, you watch the sunset, or maybe you look at a book of inspiring things that inspire you. I know for me personally, I love listening to music. It's something that inspires me. I love looking at particular films. I'm a big Jean-Luc Godard fan. I love French New Wave cinema, and every time I watch a film by Godard, it just inspires me and fills me up in a creative way. And so it's really important to do that. Or maybe you're going to be a number of different things. Find what is going to restore that creative element in you. The next is emotional rest. Again, a lot of us are feeling different things during this time, and it's about making sure that we are replenishing ourselves on an emotional level. Again, finding the things that are going to restore us on an emotional level. The next is spiritual rest, and so that is a lot about doing the things that feed us spiritually. Now, different people who are watching this may have different faiths, different religious views, or maybe atheist or agnostic, or somewhere in between. That's absolutely fine. It's about spiritual rest really is about, if you do practice a particular faith, it's about connecting there. But if you don't, it's really about just connecting with yourself, really on like a core level, connecting with yourself, asking yourself questions, and being very honest with yourself. So some of us may be more spiritually inclined than others. That's absolutely fine. If you don't feel like this pertains to you, that's absolutely fine as well. But for those of us who do have spiritual practices, of particular faiths, it's really important that we are anchoring ourselves in that and practicing that, and so that we can find that rejuvenation on a spiritual level. We can really find that rest and rejuvenation in that area as well. Lastly is sensory rest. Loads of screens. We're living in 2020. There's screens everywhere. I'm looking at a screen right now. There's screens everywhere. When we get up, the first thing a lot of us do is look at our phone. The last thing we do before we go to sleep is look at our phone. We're watching TV, we're watching the news so we can stay informed, especially during this pandemic. We're FaceTiming, we're on Zoom calls, we're on Skype calls, we're on House Party, we're on WhatsApp video, we're on Facebook Messenger. It's screen time everywhere. And so it's important that we take a break and rest away from screens. But it's not just screens. It could be just any type of sensory. There's different types of sensory. Seeing is sensory. Hearing is sensory. And so it's finding those times to rest, those different parts of those different sensors, and so that we can just kind of find some time to relax and rejuvenate. Personally, me, I love kind of just turning all the lights off in my room and just sitting in the quiet sometimes. So I love listening to music, and I love music, but sometimes I just sit in my room, open the windows to get some fresh air, turn out the lights, and just sit and relax. Lay down and relax. Just to kind of rest my mind from all the sensory overload I usually get throughout the day. So yeah, find those things that work for you. Find out different ways that you, for instance, you can cut back on screen time in different areas. Ask people, instead of a video call, could this be a phone call? Just different ways that we can kind of get our eyes off the screen when we can. Those are the 7 different areas of rest. Feel free to Google and learn, research more about that. and find different things that work for you. These are kind of just some notions and some talking points for those who may have not heard about the different types of rest. So feel free to, again, dig into that more and more. Again, Google's your best friend, and just get more information about that. Variety of different books that talk about the different types of rest. So I would highly encourage getting on that. A part of rest as well is about boundaries. And so it's really important to set up boundaries, whether those boundaries with other people or boundaries with yourself, so that we can make sure that we're practicing the different types of rest that there are. Another thing I would say is don't try to solve all of them at once. Find one or two that are most impacting you, and start there. You know, you will tire yourself out. You will be doing the opposite of resting by trying to solve all of these areas of rest overnight. Be kind to yourself, be patient with yourself. Identify the two main areas, particularly, for instance, that you're struggling with the most, and work from there. And that actually brings us into our next exercise, where I would like you to take 5 minutes, pause this video, and think about the top 3 areas that you feel you need rest in the most. So that's the top 3 areas you feel you need rest in the most. And there's, again, physical rest, mental rest, social rest, creative rest, emotional rest, spiritual rest, and sensory rest. What are the top 3 areas you need the most rest in? Hit the pause button, take about 5 minutes or so, but again, like I said, you can take as long as you like, and then hit play when you're ready to resume, and we'll crack on. The next part of the discussion is reflection. Many of us have had a unique opportunity over the past few weeks to really take more inventory of our life, and really think about the situation not just we're in, but the situations we kind of want to go back to. And so reflection is a really important part of my particular practices of well-being and personal care, self-care. And so whether I do that through journaling or you do that through journaling, I do a lot of voice notes when I'm kind of too tired to journal, or I don't want to journal and I just want a kind of verbal stream of consciousness. Whatever you use to kind of reflect and think and take stock of what's going on with you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Again, all those different types of areas that we just spoke about with rest. Finding ways to reflect on them and check in with yourself. Reflect on how you feel about the day, about the situation we're in. I feel like it's only when I get to about to go to sleep that I start thinking about how crazy all of this is. It's like throughout the day I'm fine, and then as soon as I'm about to go to sleep, I'm just like, this is mad. This is absolutely mad. And then I'm just like, all right, it's time to go to sleep, you know. And you just kind of crack on. But reflect, journal, write things down so that you can see the progress of your thoughts. But really take some time now that we have a little bit more space. Some of us are, like I said, on the front line and in a variety of different spaces. Take some time, for those who can, to really reflect on how you're doing and how you're feeling during this time. So with that, I'm going to ask a few different questions. Again, you can pause. I'm going to ask a question. Feel free to pause and take some time to think about the questions. There are 3 questions here. And then you can pause after each one, write them down, and then just crack on with the rest of the video. But one thing I would say is to be completely honest with yourself. Again, like the more honest you can be with yourself, the better. I always say there's no point lying to yourself. And so really be honest with yourself and write down answers that are really coming from the most authentic place, I'd say. And with that being said, the first question is, what type of life do you have now, and what type of life do you want? That's the first question. What type of life do you have now, and what type of life do you want? So feel free to pause that, take some time. There's no rush. Take some time and think about that. And then when you're ready, hit play, and we'll go on to the next one. And the next one is, what type of person do I want to be? This is a key one, and at Milk for Tea, a lot of the work we do is around kind of uncovering people's truest identity. I firmly believe, and at Milk for Tea, we firmly believe that identity is our anchor. For a lot of us, is our anchor. And I always liken it to a ship. You know, a ship. You know, the storms of life come, and the ship will be rocked, you know, to and fro, all over the place. But if you have a strong anchor, you know, that you can drop down, the storms will come, but if you have that strong anchor, the ship is only going to go so far. And so I liken that the anchor to our identity, and really anchoring our identity and allowing that to center us. So regardless of what's going on around us, like I said, we're in a pandemic, but really thinking about who we are and the people that we want to be is a great starting point. And now that we have a little bit more time to reflect for some of us, it may serve us well to do some reflecting and some journaling about that. So the second question, what type of person do you want to be? That can be on a core level, that could be character, values, person, different things you want to be doing, places you want to be traveling. You can go whatever you like. But what type of person do you want to be? So feel free to pause there and take some time. The third question, what type of life do I want to go back to? And I think this is a really important one as I personally have been taking some time to reflect on my life before the pandemic. I realized how busy I was and how much ripping and running I was always doing. And now I have a little bit more time to do other things. I'm spending more time with my family, which I love. I'm spending more time playing the tenor saxophone, which I love. I'm spending more time cooking and baking and doing a lot of different things I don't normally have the time to do. But I'm realizing that these are the things that feed me. And these are things that I need to have around me. So I'm thinking about after the pandemic, when things start to quiet down and we kind of get into to normalize or to a new normal, whatever that may look like, that actually I want to take some of what I'm doing now into my life post-pandemic. And so think about that. What type of life do you want to have? What type of life do you want to go back to? Maybe it's a job, what type of job do you want to go back to? What type of company culture do you want to go back to? What type of community do you want to go back to? What type of life and world do you want to go back to? Take some time and think about that. And think about what role you play in all of that. And how you can tangibly help to make that a reality for you and those around you. And so take some time. Think about your life and the life that you want to have. And that's the third question right there. So next, on the last exercise we're going to be doing today, I've spoken about, just briefly about, just now, about tangible actions. And I want to introduce to some of you may know this, some of you may not. I want to introduce the GROW model. So this is a way a model that can support you in actually producing tangible outcomes for your life, for whatever situation or problem you want to solve. This is a coaching method. I am a certified coach through the Mo Coaching Foundation. Big shout out to Mo. Thank you all for all of your support over the years. Big shout out to Dr. Mina Fambo as well for introducing me to Mo. This is the GROW model. Feel free to Google it more if you need some more clarity on it. And what I would say is to make sure you take your time with it and also to be honest with it. Now, remember at the beginning of this video, I asked you, the first exercise we did was about what's one thing you want more of. And so feel free to use that as your base for this exercise, the last exercise we're going to be doing, or you can think of something completely different. All right, so I want you to take a piece of paper and you're gonna just draw a cross through it. Some of you can see that, some of you may not be able to, but essentially you're just drawing a line down and a line across on a piece of paper there. In the first box you're gonna put G. In the second box you're gonna put R. Third box down here O, and the last box over there W. So it's GROW. Obviously. And so what I'm going to do, and so like I said, think of something that you want to, before we start, think of something that you want something you want to help solve. So for instance, it could be, I want to exercise 3 times a week. That's great. Or I want to, I finally want to bake chocolate chip cookies because I'm finding I have no time for that. It could be anything. I want to organize my wardrobe. It can literally be anything. It can be very small or it could be quite big. What I would say is that obviously the bigger it is, the more time it's going to take. So maybe for this exercise, do something a little bit smaller. But make sure that it's a real thing. Don't just hypothesize or make something up. Make sure that this is actually something you really want to do because it helps with the exercise. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through this grow model. For the sake of time, I'm just going to walk you through it, perhaps on a different day or a different time. I'll kind of dig into the grow model a bit more. In all honesty, I could have just done a whole video today about the grow model and walk you through it. But I just want to leave you with a very tangible model or tool to help you process the different challenges that you may be having at the moment. So in G, the G stands for goal. And so that's our first box right there. And so the G is what we want. What do you want? What's the goal? So the goal, so I'll make it realistic for me. One of my goals, especially during the pandemic, was to play the tenor saxophone more. I used to play back in the day when I was younger. I've wanted to pick it back up for years. My brother's a musician. He's been telling me to get back into it. I have a lot of musician friends and family. And as you can see right here, I'm starting to do it and I'm loving it. That's my goal. Okay, so for instance, that's my goal. I want to play the tenor saxophone. I want to play the tenor saxophone more. So that's the goal. So really, right now, you want to spend a lot of time thinking about the goal. So for me, I would say I want to play the tenor saxophone more. Great. What would it look like for me to play the tenor saxophone more? How would I feel? Well, I would feel great because it's something that I've always loved doing. It's my favorite instrument, and I know if I start playing again, I will feel better. I will feel like I'm being creative and express myself musically. Great. What would it look like? It would look visually. It would look great because I love the look of a saxophone, and I just love everything about it. Great. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do you really want to play the saxophone more? I would say 8 or 9. Great. Different questions you can be asking yourself in that space, in that goal space. So put your goal there and really spend some time thinking about what that looks like, how it would feel to achieve your goal. On a scale of 1 to 10, how badly do you want to achieve your goal? And just spend some time really there, like visualizing it. How does it look? How does it feel? Are there any colors that come to mind? I mean, that might be a bit abstract for some people, but what images are coming to your mind as you think about your goal? And just write down anything that comes to you, no matter how out there or irrelevant you think it might be. Just write anything that comes to you in the G. Now the R stands for reality. So we've spoken about where we want to go. So I want to play the tenor saxophone more. The R stands for reality. I know where I want to go, but now we're going to talk about where I am now. Well, apart from 3 weeks ago, I didn't even have a tenor saxophone. So that would go in my reality. Well, one, I don't have a tenor saxophone. I don't have time. I don't have the headspace. I don't really remember how to read music. Again, really busy, so again, don't have time. And to be honest, I need to find someone who can teach me. I need to find an instructor. And that's what's happening now for me in my reality. And so all of our realities will be different. So if your goal is to, for instance, bake chocolate chip cookies, that's your goal. Your reality is that right now you don't have any ingredients to bake any cookies. Okay, that's great. Write down your reality in there. Now the O stands for options. This is our box down here. The O stands for options. So, I know where I want to go. I want to play the tenor saxophone more. My reality is up until 3 weeks ago, I didn't have a tenor saxophone, and I didn't have time, and I didn't have the headspace. Great. Now, what are my options from getting from reality to my goal? Well, one, I could hire out a tenor saxophone, which I did. I can find an online teacher, which I did. I can speak to my friends who play tenor saxophone. I can start learning music again and reading music again. I can do a variety of different things. And I'm going to put all of my options in O. Now we're going to come to the last one, which is W. And the W stands for will. So out of all of the options that I created, what are the things that I will commit to doing? And so as you can see, I did commit to hiring out a tenor saxophone. I have committed to finding an online instructor. I have spoken to my other musician friends, and those are the things that I went out and did. I committed to them, I wrote them down, I committed to them, and I got it done. And I set myself a time frame. I knew I wanted to do it within the next 3 weeks. And with the pandemic coming, I knew I had to do it on a specific day before things shut down. So feel free to put time limits on them and time frames and dates on them to help you accomplish them. And so I find that always really helps with creating smart goals. So I hope that has helped in some way with you in terms of just having a model to kind of practically come up with tangible solutions. Feel free to Google that more. Like I said, I could have done a whole thing, and actually what I was going to do before the pandemic happened, I was going to be doing this with all of you all at the event in person. And so that was a much shorter and condensed version. I would YouTube it or Google it to find people or coaches online who are walking through the stages if you need some more support on that, or anything like that. There's a bunch of great content out there, but it's called the Grow Model. But it's literally about just a series of questions that you can ask yourself to kind of get you a tangible answer and come up with solutions for your own problems. That is the end of today's workshop. I hope that you were able to get something from that. And apologies if that was scattered in any way or bitty in any way. Rolling with the punches here, rolling with the punches. So I hope you were able to take something away from that. I thank you for taking the time out to watch, and hopefully there will be more coming. But just want to say for you all to be blessed, stay safe, stay inside, wash your hands, and help us all work together to save the lives of our city, this country, and ultimately the world. God bless you all. Have a great time.